County Board of County Commissioners work session for Wednesday, July 27th, 2022. It's 9:03 a.m. My name is Ty Menser, Vice Chair of the Board. Our Chair, Commissioner Carolina Mejia, participating through Zoom, and Commissioner Gary Edwards is excused today. We have Assistant County Manager Robin Campbell on our Zoom platform, and we have a couple of staffers in the room. We have staff from Public Works and our budget office, and we're ready to go. Here we have an hour allocated to the topic of Thurston County Storm and Surface Water Utility Comprehensive Study. This is an informational session. No decisions will be made, it looks like, and virtual public attendance is available on the Thurston County YouTube channel, where this meeting will also be archived. So, Assistant County Manager, do you want me to go right to Tim, or did you have any introductory comments this morning?
Thank you, Commissioner. I think we can go right to Tim.
Okay, Tim Wilson, you're up.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Robin. Tim Wilson, Water Resources Manager, Public Works, along with Nate Ensley, Senior Water Resources Engineer with Public Works. I will be handing off to Nate and Shannon, who is online with us in a moment, but I just wanted to say real briefly that the Storm and Surface Water Utility Comprehensive Study, which you'll be hearing about today, is an important planning document that's been in the works for a couple of years now. It is something that the board has already heard about and appropriated funding to for 2022 and 2023, and we're excited to share this information with you. So with that, I would hand it off to Nate.
Great, thanks Tim. Good morning, Commissioners. Again, Nate Ensley here, Senior Water Resources Engineer, and to formally introduce Shannon, she's our Water Resources Utility Planner under my work group. So as Tim mentioned, we're going to step you through staff's development of Thurston County's first Storm and Surface Water Utility Comprehensive Study today. And as Tim mentioned again, the board has already approved budget for Public Works to initiate this study. So today's presentation is really intended to be informational, to keep you all apprised of our progress on this budgeted effort. Before we dive in, we just want to give you a quick reminder that drinking water and sanitary sewer are completely outside the scope of today's conversation. And I just realized that we don't have the PowerPoint up on the screen. We could enter into slideshow mode.
We can run it.
Do we run it from this room? Great.
She can help.
Okay. Thank you. So we'll head to slide number 2, please.
Hold on a second. Let me get it so that I can share the screen here.
Okay. Robin, just a quick confirmation. Can you see that on your end? Okay, thank you. Okay, so if we don't mind going to slide 2. So on today's agenda, Shannon and I are going to walk us through an overall summary of our utilities background, the driving forces behind the study, how we plan to use it, anticipated outreach efforts, and what the path forward looks like. Next slide, please. So we'd like to take a quick opportunity to remind the board of the history of the Storm and Surface Water Utility. In 1985, pursuant to RCW 36.89, the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners adopted resolution number 8069, creating and establishing the Thurston County Storm and Surface Water Utility, and with that, its fund. In 1989, the county went one step further to create the Storm and Surface Water Utility fees to support the utility's goals of mitigating risk to public associated with flooding and mitigating water quality degradation due to pollutants transported by stormwater runoff. Next slide, please. In 2007, we had a monumental shift that occurred within the utility, and that was with the county's first issuance of the Municipal Stormwater Permit. The county's Municipal Stormwater Permit is a Department of Ecology issued permit that conditionally authorizes discharge of stormwater to surface waters and groundwaters from stormwater systems owned and operated by Thurston County. So by adhering to the permit's conditions, the county is presumed to be in compliance with both federal and state regulations.
Can I ask you on that one? So what, like, is this just a new system the state started, or did we cross some threshold and need to start getting a permit where we didn't need to previously? Why this change in 07?
Yeah, great question. Do you know that since you have more history in
Yeah,
Washington?
so Ecology issued its first permit in 2007. It was just an extension of the Clean Water Act. So those provisions were handed down to Department of Ecology, and Ecology then regulated communities' stormwater systems via that blanket permit. So the way that works is phase one communities are considered communities of 100,000 or more. Phase two communities are communities of 10,000 or more. So Thurston County within the regulated area, which equates basically to the urban growth area, is considered a phase two community. So blanket permit that came into place in 2007, if that answers your question.
Well, in part, but I mean, was that the first time they issued that type of permit anywhere? Was this like something that the federal government told the state you gotta start doing under the Clean Water Act?
That's exactly right.
Or had there been permits for communities before that?
No,
Okay.
No.
So that doesn't, 2007, not like we did anything wrong or.
that's exactly right.
It's just a new system got established.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. And Commissioner Mejia, if you have questions, just pipe up. There's only two of us and we've got an hour, so we should be able to just take questions as they come. This packet is
Thank you so much.
This packet is not the 99 slide packet that Public Works came in with last time.
We'll try to beef it up next time for you.
No, it's all good.
So Tim was kind of alluding to this, but the geographic scope of the permit generally applies to urbanized unincorporated county areas and urban growth boundaries of Lacey, Olympia, and Tumwater. So as you can see on the slide right here, the permit coverage area, which is shaded in yellow, is really a small footprint compared to the county as a whole. We want to let you know that the Storm and Service Water Utility does currently deploy stormwater management efforts across the entire county, but this yellow shaded area is where the county must manage stormwater in compliance with this municipal permit. To touch on a few of the key pillars of the municipal permit, we have deploying a stormwater management program, applicable actions to address total maximum daily load or TMDL concerns, monitoring and assessment of our facilities, and essentially reporting to Ecology on these items. And obviously there's additional tasks as well, and please note that these permit obligations are ever evolving as we discover new pollutants of concern, other items like that. Next slide, please. Okay, so let's roll into the study here. Why do we need this study? So at a high level, this study is intended for an outside consultant to provide an overall gap analysis for the utility that results in recommendations for improvement as it relates to both regulatory drivers and industry best practices. While working through the study, staff will ensure that the scope is in alignment with several county strategic initiatives, with additional lenses added, such as equity for residents the utility serves. Completing this study will help bring new and existing staff to a common understanding to allow our ratepayers to get a high-level look into the Storm and Surface Water Utility program. Next slide, please. So Water Resources staff developed the following list of objectives to aid current and future staff in managing the utility. So first off, we'd like the consultant to assist with the creation of the utility goals and mission statement, which we currently don't have. Second, we'd like the consultant to help us with development of various levels of service. Just a quick note here, staff anticipates that minimum level of service will be that level of service required to meet the permit obligations. And then from that lowest level of service, the levels of service would scale up to go above and beyond the permit obligations. The consultant will essentially provide a menu of options for levels of service, but it will be up to the county to decide what level of service we proceed with. Moving on here, next slide, please. So next we have to evaluate our stormwater program against obligations set forth in the county's municipal stormwater permit and industry best practices for those areas outside the permit area. Rolling on, we have capital project scoring process review. So for stormwater capital projects, staff currently uses a well built out scoring criteria to prioritize our capital projects, but it's getting a little outdated. So the consultant will review our existing criteria against best practices in Western Washington to provide recommendations for improvement. Next, we have evaluation of the asset management program. The consultant will take a high-level look at our existing asset management program and provide recommendations based off industry best practices for improvement. Next, we have a financial analysis. Essentially, we'd like the consultant to take a high-level look at the revenue requirements to run the utility, evaluate our current rates, rate structures, and methodologies for rates. I'd like to note, though, that this will not be a utility rate study quite yet. That might be a future study that comes with this first study. And we'd also just like some kind of funding distribution visualization tool. So maybe that's some kind of a pie chart for where all the storm and surface water utility funds go, or maybe an organizational chart so we can visualize where the money's all going. Again, these study objectives are intended to be reviewed with the goal of really performing a gap analysis with resultant recommendations for the county to consider. And I'm actually going to pass it off to Shannon now to take us through the rest of the presentation.
Great, thank you, Nate. Next slide, please. So how are we planning to use this study? This study is intended to be used as a living document to provide a framework for the storm and surface water utility. This document will inform staff and the public of the current state of the stormwater program, utility operations, and provide new and existing staff with an overview of how the program is organized and administered. Updates will be made at regular intervals to keep this document current with ongoing county activities and policies and in step with the reissuance cycle of our municipal stormwater permit. By identifying program needs and recommending levels of service, this study will help us better understand the current distribution of effort and funding across activities and departments, as Nate just mentioned, as well as providing recommendations to ensure we are meeting our obligations and providing an equitable program. Based on the findings of the study, we will be able to make informed decisions and place priorities in a more systematic and data-driven way, and in line with the mission and values of the utility once they are established. We'll be better equipped to develop budgets and plan for future activities and projects. The study will also identify and provide recommendations for areas where there may be opportunities for improvement or enhancement. And then finally, the information and recommendations provided by this study will support the county's strategic initiatives number 8 to support robust and well-maintained infrastructure systems for a thriving community, and number 9 to support environmental health and climate stabilization. Next slide, please.
Can I stop you there? Shannon, this might be yours or one of the other team, but so like levels of service, I'm familiar with that term in the context of traffic and in the context of parks maintenance. I'm not really familiar with it in terms of stormwater utility. So what would that look like for the choices the board? You said there's going to be like, if we want to go above and beyond, like meaning what? What are those levels of service like defined as, or is that what the study's going to define?
Yeah, so I'll try to take a swing at this one. So you mentioned traffic levels of service, and that's something that all engineers learn in college when they're getting their bachelor's. For stormwater utility, there's not necessarily a defined set of rules for levels of service, and so really we'd be kind of developing these levels of service based off what our consultant sees around the industry. They might see that some municipalities only have the funding to carry out their stormwater efforts inside to meet their municipal stormwater obligations. The county would be a couple steps up from that because we deploy stormwater efforts countywide. But even from where we are today, there might be higher levels of service that we could further our efforts outside that permit area. But essentially, there may not be an existing set of rules for those, so we'd be working collaboratively with the consultant to develop those for the first time.
So just guess. I mean, like with traffic, what would be the metric? Would it be like like a certain pollutant level in, like increasing the maximums, or lowering the maximums for surface water bodies? Or would it be more like the volume of stormwater that you calculate? I don't know how that hydrology analysis works. Or would it be a certain level of infrastructure? Like we're gonna have, we're gonna require bioswales anywhere a bioswale is, appropriate, or we're gonna have 37 of this type of construction versus, a countywide versus now we've got 12 or whatever. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, what would you be looking to measure in terms of moving up a level?
So I think I've got a good example for you. A lot of our funds are spent on operation and maintenance of the stormwater system. And so if we are inside the permit area, the permit essentially has language that says if we identify some kind of deficiency, let's say with a catch basin or pipe, we have X amount of months to go in and rehab that or replace it to address the deficiency.
Okay.
Now, that's specific to inside the permit area. An example of how we could escalate things outside the permit area is today, outside the permit area, there's not necessarily that timer that starts upon identifying the deficiency. And so the county has like longer to address that, or there may not be a deadline at all.
We've got this, wasn't it yesterday where we had a project that's being approved by the board to address something we learned about in 2015 or something like that, study.
Yep.
So we took 7 years to do it.
Yep.
And you're saying a higher level of service might be, you've got 3 years to address that if you find X, Y, or Z.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. Does that answer your question?
Well, yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're saying though, like that's an example, but it may be a suite of different things the consultant comes up with for that to define these level of service, because there isn't an established industry.
Exactly. And so let's talk about our capital program, for example. Right now, we have limited staff capability to get all these capital projects across the finish line. The result of that is that on average, we might see 1 to 3 capital projects getting pushed out per year. However, if the county, including staff and the board, decides that they want to increase that level of service for capital projects, for example, that might justify additional help to get even more capital projects dished out on an annual basis. And we could apply that to any kind of function of the stormwater program.
If I can just add, Nate, also, I mean, it's kind of that Chevy versus Cadillac, type of thing. Minimum service level would be meeting the obligations of the permit and not being in violation of that. The upper tiers of that could be, the board has had conversations in the past about PIC programs and pollution identification and kind of stretching the boundaries of what we're allowed to do through statute for the stormwater utility. And some of the options that come out of this could look like, what could the stormwater utility fund to answer some of those questions or put some of those options in front of the board.
Commissioner Mejia, anything that you wanted to add or ask? Can't see you up there.
No, sir. I think you've been hitting it pretty straight on.
Perfect. Go ahead, Nate. Oh, I'm sorry. It's back to Shannon.
Back to Shannon.
Thanks. So we have done some outreach up to this point. Our outreach efforts to date have brought together internal stakeholders to solicit feedback on the most important topics to include in the study and to provide an opportunity for those stakeholders and the Storm and Surface Water Advisory Board to provide comments on the proposed scope of work for the study. Future outreach efforts will include soliciting feedback from an internal technical advisory group, the Storm and Surface Water Advisory Board, and the general public. Internal stakeholders will be asked to provide relevant program information during the data gathering phase of the study and to provide comment on first and second drafts of the study. The study will be advertised on our Stormwater website. A virtual open house will be held, and external stakeholders will be invited to sign up for updates and comment on the draft study through the website as well. There will also be various social media posts to inform followers of updates and opportunities to provide feedback. Next slide, please. So what are the next steps? The next steps include the following estimated timeline. We will submit an AIS requesting to solicit proposals in mid to late August. Then proposal evaluations and selection will occur in early fall. We will then submit an AIS requesting approval of the award with contract execution shortly thereafter. The study is expected to take somewhere between 12 and 18 months to complete. So once the study is completed, we will brief the board on the results of the study and present any significant findings and our recommendations for your consideration. Next slide, please. And so with that, we would be happy to take any additional questions you may have.
Commissioner Mejia, I think your sound was kind of cut out on us, so I apologize that I might have cut you off there, but any questions or comments, or the floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. No questions. Great presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I think I asked my questions along the way, so I don't know that I have any more. Looks like a good project, so.
Thank you.
Is that it? Wow, we did good. Thank you, guys. Nice work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
9:24, we're adjourned. Back in 10 o'clock for Public Works, Patterson Island.
Yes, absolutely.